Hello fellow space engineers, GopeScope here from the GopeScope gaming channel, and I just wanted to bring you a quick video on the Vel Cannon. The current iteration, basically the one that was used on the Charon class light cruiser, which you can see behind me right here. I just ripped the gun from that ship, and then the only other changes I made is I actually mounted the timer blocks that are used to make it work onto the gun itself, as opposed to being placed throughout the ship as it was on the vessel. So now you have a gun that is something that can be attached to a ship that you're building if you would like to do that. I had quite a few requests to put this out on the Steam Workshop as its own separate thing. Sorry it took me a while to get around to doing it, but we've got it now. So on the Steam Workshop, what you will find is essentially, if I just copy this and move it up here, I have a very utilitarian ship thing attached to the back just for display purposes for this video, but on the workshop what you will see is basically just this. So you have the barrels and the sensors that make it work, and then I went about attaching the front and the back, because as you can see there's a rotor here and a rotor here. So the way that this is attached, I already did the merge block stuff to get that to fit together. So if you want to attach this to a ship, all you need to do is copy it, and then you could stick this end or that end into your ship. The easiest way to do it would probably be to attach it on one end and then build the ship out from the other, but the way that it's placed here, where you don't have to do the merge block stuff with either rotor, it should be pretty easy to fit this in. Now, I tried to do as bare bones a thing as I could here, so it's basically just the gun, and the only reason that this front section has these armor blocks on it, which is just light armor. It's not important if it's light armor or heavy armor or blast doors. The only thing that matters is that there's something ahead of these guns, or to be more specific, ahead of these sensors on these guns, for them to detect. If they do not detect a ship ahead, which this would be that ship, they will fire or cause the gun that's associated with them to fire. So you can see down here I have the firing aperture. So this sensor in this position here would not detect a ship ahead of it and would cause this gun to fire. Kind of went over this in my first video on the Vel Cannon, but just as a quick overview again, so if anyone's looking at this and hasn't seen that video, that's why in this, otherwise it looks very bare bones, except this looks like it might be extra. It's not. This is actually an important part of how this works. If this wasn't here and you turned this on, every gun would fire at the same time. So the timers back here, they serve different functions, but primarily there's a grouping of them that run the continuous fire system, and then another grouping that runs the burst fire system. And then there's a rotor associated with each of those. So there's a continuous fire rotor and a burst fire rotor. I believe the front rotor is the continuous fire rotor, and this rear rotor here is the burst fire rotor. So you have, what you have is a timer block, and I've hidden all of the timers that are not necessary to use, but just automatically function when you start these other timers. Just for ease of use, so you're not looking for the wrong thing and activating a different timer that's not the way it's supposed to, set up the way it's supposed to be running, and gets things all out of whack. So there's just two timers, continuous fire timer, burst fire timer, and if we go into the UI of this, you can see most of this stuff is hidden, and if we show the ones that aren't, it's just these two. So if you click that and hit start, it'll go continuous fire. If you do the other one burst, it will do a round of burst fire. So the reason there are so many timers is that to make that select fire mode work, what you need to do, what the timers do, is change the braking force, or braking torque rather, and the on-off settings on these rotors. And the way that this game is set up, increasing and decreasing the braking strength, it takes a couple rotors to actually, or a couple of timers, excuse me, a couple of timers to make that happen, to actually take it from full braking torque to none, and vice versa. So that's a reason for 4 of those timers. And then the burst fire mode has another couple of timers set in, and what those do is they automatically tell the gun to stop spinning once all 8 barrels would have discharged, and then starts another timer that basically at the end of it running turns the burst fire timer block back on. So you click the burst fire timer block to say fire, guns go through, they fire, it takes 3 seconds. Once they all fire, this next timer block starts, and once it finishes, which is 8 seconds later, approximately the time that all those barrels will be done reloading, it reactivates, that is, it does not trigger or start the burst fire timer block, but turns it back on. So once you fire it, it actually turns itself off. So if you try to keep hitting it, it doesn't do anything. And the reason for that is that they've already gone through their cycle, they've already fired, and it's getting them spinning again is not actually going to do anything. The only thing that it might do is you end up with a goofy fire pattern where you're trying to do burst fire again, and rather getting the full round burst going off, you'll get like a couple here and there. And then if you try to do a continuous fire, it's kind of like staggered shots. So if you want to do that, you can change the programming a little bit to make that happen. But the way that I left it now is just, and I can demonstrate actually. As you've seen if you've looked at some of the other videos, it's either just, here's continuous fire, which is just one round after another. It's a good fire mode to use if you're trying to track a target that's moving at quite a distance. And then we can hit the same timer button to stop. So that number 1 timer block I have set up to be the continuous fire timer. So 1 click to start it, another click to stop it. And then the burst fire mode stops itself, as I was explaining. So you hit it once, and there it goes. Fires everything, automatically stopped itself. And now if I hit it, nothing happens. But if a couple seconds go by, actually 8 seconds to be precise, when these are all reloaded, each one of these barrels, once they fire, takes 10 seconds to reload. And once they have reloaded, then you can fire again. So anyway, pretty short video, just wanted you to see this, and wanted to let you know that we were getting that out onto the Steam Workshop. Like I said, quite a few people were wanting to take a look at this, so have fun. I'll be excited to see what you guys do with these things and what ships you put them in and what kind of havoc you cause. Until next time, this is GopeScope, signing off. The Vel Cannon will be available in the Steam Workshop in the GSG Let's Build a Battlefleet collection. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned.